Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Intuition Incubator interviews. I'm Carolyn Beauchamp. I'm an advanced certified clinical hypnotherapist, Psych K facilitator, teacher, and author. And I am the author of the recently published book, Horses to Higher Consciousness, Riding the Cosmic Current. And this is an inspirational memoir that I talk about where I had to learn to trust my own inner guidance, that small, soft voice within, as opposed to the voice or voices without. And today I am honored and privileged to be joined with Carol Metz Murray. And Carol is a transformational entrepreneur. She's the founder of the Naked Leadership Movement with over 30 years in leadership and self leadership, development, and people possibilities. And it's the alchemy of people possibilities, which I like. I've studied at the Alchemy Institute, so we love that word. It's change and transformation. She blends narrative storytelling, spiritual truths, and radical listening as she guides women bravely to beyond their prison of stories into a rebirth of a new you, releasing fear, self doubt, and hidden perfectionism to align their purpose, to discover and unleash the authentic leader within. Carol guides women 45 years plus, business owners, and teams to step into their greatness so that they can be the leader they were meant to be, and also to build stronger relationships, live their dreams, and thrive in an ever changing world. Thank you so much, Carol, for being here and welcome.
Well, thank you for having me, Carolyn. I'm excited to be here with you and spend some time with you and just have a conversation, get to know you and your audience, and really to share because I know you are a wise, wise woman. And just, as an intuitive and the background that you bring, who you are, yeah, I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, I'm excited to be here with you too. So this is great. And I'm sure our audience is too. And yes, my audience is an intuitive, audience that we're really looking at how to trust our intuition. And I love to have on guests who can help explain through their experiences how they help their clients trust their intuition. And so I'm really excited to learn about your work. But before we get into that, I'd like to start by asking you, where did your healing journey really begin? Tell us a little about you.
I love that question, Carolyn. And my question back to you before I begin is how much time do we have?
Well, okay, we won't go into the whole story, but I do like the trajectory. So take your time. We have an hour.
Great, great response. So in essence, perhaps what I will do is just give you a timeline, and then I may work back and forth and to really truly begin to, is where did my self-discovery, yes, my healing journey begin? And that actually began in far north, the far north of Canada. I was living there and had my dream job. The world was moving forward, or so I thought. And then there was one day where I was driving to my last course for my Master's of Public Administration, and that was here in Canada. Of course, it's kilometers. That was a 500-kilometer drive, and over 300 of those kilometers, I drove completely disconnected from who I was. When I came out of that stupor, I had no idea where I was, who I was, and what was this thing in my hands. And sheer panic. I was able to bring myself kind of back to being somewhat centered. When I got to my destination, I knew something was broken inside of me. It just was, what the is going on? And I reached out to my doctor. I called her, and bless her, absolutely bless her, because Carolyn, she said to me, Carol, you have lived a high life of stress for
Mm.
these first 40 some years of your life. And if you don't deal with it now, I'll make you deal with it. And in essence, I was in full blown burnout.
Oh. So you knew who you
Meant
were, but you didn't know why you were going to wherever you were going, but you had the
now,
wherewithal. You knew who your doctor was, and you knew to call her, right?
well, I was in essence, part of me was disassociated from who I was, yet there was also part of me that was able to keep me on the road. And as I often say, is I had the divine sitting on my shoulders guiding me because quite frankly, you know, uh, and living in the far north, of course, I was living in within the mountains and driving mountain roads, so it wasn't a straight highway. And it was very, very scary. But there I was, just a mess, mentally and physically, emotionally and spiritually.
Wow.
I, you know, I heard the doctor. I mean, those words have stayed with me forever. And I knew in, kind of, as I say, 20 seconds of insane courage, my life flashed in front of my eyes. And I knew I needed to change because who I had been to that point was costing me, in essence, and it could have cost me my life. So I made a decision that yes, I needed to begin to change. And I also, at that moment, made a decision that I would complete my thesis for my master's degree in the 3 month window that I had. I haven't got a clue how I did that. Again, because I really was in a mess. I went on to medical leave to begin to really help me, and what a journey that has been. So that moment of self-discovery, yes, I completed my thesis. And again, I don't know how, but I did. I got it onto, yes, the fax machine to send off to the University of Southeast Alaska because I was living in the Yukon, but it was through the University of Southeast Alaska that I was studying to get my master's. And that day, that time, there was another bump in the road, was off went my thesis, and I picked up the local newspaper for the Yukon, and it fell open in my hands. And when it fell open, on the right-hand side, the bottom half of the page had a job advertised for a city manager. Well, that was the work I did. And I read it, and I read it, and I reread it through the fog I was in, only to discover that was my job. So there I was, you know, in the on medical leave, yes, in a deep fog of who the heck are you, Carol? And my dream job was gone. Nobody told me. So that's how I discovered it.
Unbelievable.
And suddenly I was also unemployed, which impacted my medical benefits. It was an absolute mess. So talk about, it kind of getting, not kind of getting kicked from one side and kicked from the other. However, that also was a motivation of digging deeper into who I was. Who are you, Carol? and beginning to release traumas from my past life. And that, the journey of going backwards, Carolyn, to what, yes, I had escaped from a violence-filled marriage where uh, I knew, you know, I had thought about and talked about getting out of this marriage because of the violence that was in it. And one day finding myself facing my husband, who had a gun in his hand, saying, Carol, the only way we can solve this is I, shoot you, and then I killed myself. I talked myself out of that, talked him out of it, and then it was like, you need to get kind of you need to get the hell out of Dodge, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then looking at that, going back further in childhood, where I was sexually assaulted as a little girl over a number of years by a neighbor, and nobody listened to me and heard me. And so I felt, completely isolated and unheard. And, it just all of those different things. And then even going back to the beginning of my life, I grew up on a farm and a happy time at the age of 5 where my dad said to me, if you want to be a farmpreneur, because I spent a lot of time with my dad, you need to learn how to lead. So the summer I was 5, I spent a lot of time with a herd of horses that we had, who are marvelous leaders. I mean, they lead us, we don't lead them. And we also had a huge flock of turkeys. And that was the other way to lead. Well, turkeys are like leading cats,
Yeah.
except they're even more stubborn and they have a mind of their own. And when they don't like what you're doing, of course, they open up their wings and they flap. And turkey wings are really, really strong. So anyway, that was the beginning of leadership. And I actually, yes, I love, it's just, I really, really enjoyed that for all of the things that went on. So it was that mixture of things. But as I was things and all of the ups and downs, and as I was on this self healing journey, the self-discovery, one day I got a downloaded question. And for me, it really was coming from the divine through intuition. And that question was, what had you stepping into that violence-filled relationship? And where is it in your life that you truly began to abandon yourself? Well, those were heavy questions,
Wow.
very, very heavy. And let me tell you, I resisted. How dare you ask those questions? Well, the victim part of me, victimhood was still playing a big part in my life.
Yeah.
However, you know, going back on that timeline again, what came up was a memory of the day that I was to say I do. And that day of my intuition was so loud, telling me I was making the biggest mistake in my life. And
Really?
I didn't listen to it. I pushed it aside.
Really?
Then I went further back, and where I realized I had first began to abandon myself was at that age 5 or 6 when I began to be sexually assaulted.
Hmm.
And because I wasn't being heard or seen, I closed down a part of me.
Of course. So you mentioned
So
self-protection.
yeah, in losing that connection. And of course, in losing that connection, what I also did then was, as energetic beings, I shifted my energy and closed off myself from certain aspects of life.
Mhm.
I mean, the part that I guess in essence I didn't close off was yes, I stepped into leadership, and yes, I needed to prove to the world that I was enough and I was worthy and I could achieve. And oh, let me tell you, I did all of that. I became a workaholic. Yes, I have four beautiful babies as a result of, the marriage I stepped into, and I built a career in leadership, all of that. And I really showed the world that I could be everything and to anybody and everyone except me,
Exactly.
except me. So up to that question, and again, that was a loud, loud call. And that really did change the trajectory of me and where I was going. And healing really escalated, and intuition began to speak louder. And my body began to speak very loud, with the different traumas in it. And truly, that has been, you know, get kind of the opening of naked leadership and beginning to allow the authentic you inside to really step forward. It's always been there, always. It has never, ever gone away. It's just been pushed to the back of the bus. And so no, 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 you come, you step forward now. You begin to shine. And the more I, in essence, gave myself permission to shine and be bold, the stronger my intuition came forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
You have to take the action, right?
you have to take the action, you give yourself permission, you step out of really thinking and believing that you need to suffer. No, just like step forward and reclaim who you are. Really, truly reclaim, because you are magnificent. It's just, so what a journey it's been. And quite frankly, that journey continues every day because there's always something new to be revealed. Always,
Right.
always. And what I also discovered is as you release, and there's much to release in trauma settles in different places in our bodies. And you release it, but there's always tiny little hooks that may stay. But those hooks, quite frankly, are continuous learning, continuous just evolving and who I am, who you are, as your audience can attest to. And what a journey it's been.
And what an absolute perfect journey to put you in the position to help lead others or teach them how to grow and evolve and lead because of what you learned. That's the beauty. That's the transformation that comes from these difficult beginnings. That's what really makes us who we are. I love that story. I mean, it was harrowing, but it made you the woman you are. And now you can help other women, which is really what it's all about. So when you first got those two difficult questions, the very difficult, those two difficult ones, what was the next thing? Where did you take your intuition with that when you actually accepted it after you stepped out of the victimhood of it or the insult of the questions? Then how did you turn that around?
At that time, in, there was, as I said earlier, that little bit of who do you think you are, and attempted to push those questions aside. In essence, my intuition was stronger than um, I would refer to this as a friend calls it the itty bitty shitty committee that lives inside each and every one of us.
Right.
It was really stepping forward to say no, push that ego aside and say, and again, well, Carol, who are you? Because that question kept coming up. And then really the next question was, Carol, what is it that will help you to move forward, to really begin to discover who you are? And as you know, and coaching came into my life, and I became certified in three different coaching modalities. I became um, certified as an integrative development practitioner and as a Psych practitioner, and all of those helped me to really truly discover more and more of who I am. Also, I'm a NLP facilitator, and I also stepped into Toastmasters and became a distinguished Toastmaster because, in essence, I had began to speak at the age of 11, and over time, because of everything going on my life, I pushed that aside. Yet public speaking is one of my gifts. So all of that I put into action. And mixed in with that was I discovered energy work. And energy work for others? No, first and foremost, it was energy work on me.
Absolutely.
And that was amazing. And what I also discovered, working with horses to also heal me.
Beautiful.
And and I still say it, when I mention to people, both women and men, step forward to work with horses because, and listeners, close your ears, because quite frankly, they will call you on your bullshit before you even know you have any.
That's exactly right. That's what I talk about. Yeah. Well,
They do.
that is so interesting. Well, we need to unpack this a little bit because you said so much right there. And I really want to share with our audience. I'll go to the horses in a minute, even though, of course, I want to jump in there right away since horses to higher consciousness. And I have many stories in here that share how brilliant and even beyond their present tense with us, how they help us spiritually. But I want to go back to you found coaching and you found energy healing, you found Psych, you found NLP. And of course, when you're learning these things, you are a practitioner as well as a receiver of it. So, right? So that probably really helped you understand yourself as you were learning how to help others understand themselves, correct?
Correct.
So go in a little bit more in detail before we get to the horses, what you did with the energy work. What energy work did you do, and how did that help you get in touch with your interior world?
The well, the energy work that I did was with a practitioner
Hmm.
who performed energy work on me,
Correct.
and a variety of different, in essence, different ways, different modalities that this energy worker had. In essence, she was, and I watched her in essence as she pulled some of that negative energy out of my being. And I will share with you and your audience, there was one session where I'm on the table and laying there as relaxed as I can be because and she's standing behind me on behind my head and you know doing her magic. And all of a sudden she says, "Oh, oh, there's entities inside of you. Do you want to know who they are?" And then she says, "No, you don't." And she says, "But I'm going to get them out of here." And it was amazing. uh, Absolutely amazing, Carolyn, because she raised she's standing behind me, but I could see her then as she raised her hands and they came up like this. And when they came together, there actually was sparks. There was actually sparks that um,
Emitted from her hands or from you that she was
well,
channeling
from it was from me
coming out of you.
through her
Right.
hands and out. And whomever they were, and she never ever shared that with me. And quite frankly, intuition told me, you don't need to know, Carol.
Yes, yes, I
You
would.
don't need to know. But when I stood up, I felt lighter mentally and emotionally, and spiritually and physically. It was whomever, whatever was gone, you know, and that for me, I mean, it worked. Uh, it was amazing. So that was the kind of energy work that, in essence, worked for me. And the more that I did that, the more my body spoke, and it would let me know where energy blocks were.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, and if I may, just shifting gears from the energy worker, what I also learned in my journey, and what I didn't mention, is I've also survived, I think it's 9 motor vehicle accidents.
Oh my
And
Lord, woman.
and this one particular accident, and I share it from the perspective of how we can actually heal ourselves, and like letting go of the trauma. And I had been T-boned at a traffic light, or my car had been, and as a result of that, the airbags um, imploded, as well as the steering wheel hitting my chest. And being the stubborn me, I said to paramedics, "I don't need to go to emergency. I'm fine." Well, by afternoon, I wasn't so fine, especially when I looked at my chest, and I had the most beautiful purple breasts and chest. I mean, the color purple was magnificent.
Oh Lord.
It was like, wow. But I knew I needed to go and find out what was going on because I was having a hard time breathing.
Oh,
So I went, and the doctor immediately ordered an X-ray. I'm laying on the table covered with a sheet, bare underneath. And after a while, I see the doctor coming over to me, and he has the strangest look on his face. It's like he's wanting to laugh and he's containing himself. And I'm laying there in pain. What the heck is going on here? And he comes and he stands beside the gurney. And I admit, yes, he was a good-looking young doctor. And he looks at me and he says, "Miss Carroll, would you like the bad news or the good news first?" And there's all sorts of things going on in my head. What's this all about? And in pain. And I just look at him and I said, give me the bad news. And he's still fighting this smile. He said, well, the bad news is this. With the impact that happened on your chest, the cartilage from the top of your rib cage to the bottom is cracked. That's why you're in so much pain. And it will heal over time. And then he says, and now you want the good news? And this big smile comes on his face. And I'm thinking, what is up here?
What could be good, right? You're thinking, I don't get it. I'm
And
not
he
dead.
says, and he says, the good news is, thank goodness you are so well endowed because that has saved you from having cracked ribs.
Oh,
So he said, just thank you. And I looked at him and he's burst out laughing and he says, I'm sorry. He says, I've just never, ever had to tell a patient news like this. He said, and they don't cover this in medical school. Well, getting a compliment that you're well endowed and,
yeah.
in this beautiful purple. I looked at him, and even though I was in pain, I burst out into laughter, and it hurt like
Oh,
whatever.
yeah. Oh my God. But your breast saved the day.
But my breast saved the day. And he walked away still laughing and chuckling. And I thought, and my laughter for me actually helped to move the trauma
Oh,
because
yes.
when I got up and I walked out, yes, I was in pain, but it was like I was leaving it all there on the table.
Yeah. Isn't
So
that
it was
interesting?
it was a great lesson that, it's our intuition
Laughter.
works, in so many wonderful ways.
And laughter is the best medicine,
Yes,
That's
yes.
That's really, really wonderful. What a great story. So, wow, the amount of trauma, look how strong you are. Everything you've been through. And this, I love our audience to hear this because, everybody has things that they think, oh, I can't get over this. Oh, that was so terrible. I'll never forget it. But you're a perfect example. And thank you for sharing that. You're a perfect example that yes, you can. Yes, you can. And you just kept going and all the different, with your energy work and then continuing to take these courses to help others. Your heart of service just kept growing in spite of it. It was like it was the trauma like propelled you into I can, I will, and then I'll help others, which which is so beautiful for everyone to hear and so much encouragement. So now share with us about the horses. How did you get into horse healing?
Well, horse healing came into my life interestingly about the same time that the energy work came into my life because I had put a question out in essence to the universe is, you know, what modalities will help me heal and help me on my journey of self-discovery. And all of a sudden, an equine therapy coach came into my life. I don't recall how she was introduced to me, but she was introduced first as a coach. And I met with her, and she talked about actually, she was in a training to become an equine therapy um, practitioner.
Uh-huh.
And so she invited me to be one of um, I guess, one of the individuals to be part and parcel of um, her cohort as she was learning. And I said yes, because I'm always open to, you know, new discoveries and what would I learn? Well, it was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I don't know how many times the horses called me on my stuff. Yeah, in so many different ways.
They pick up energy, right? They feel your energy. They know
Well,
your energy.
well, absolutely. And I mean, horses' emotional field is what, twice the size of a human's field. I mean, they live in fight, flight, and in essence, fear on a daily basis. So they need to be aware of what's going on. So yes, they pick up what's going on. And it was just so wonderful in not only picking up, but then they help you in releasing it as well. And that connection in that work of, as you're working with them, at least in my experience, of then being with them, like right with them. And for me, one of the well, it was all just amazing gifts. But the biggest one was when, asking the horse for permission to stand right with it and in front and to the side and put your hand where its heart was
Huh?
and connect heart to hand.
Oh,
Oh, that for me was healing because their healing energy flowed through my hand and into me, and I could feel it.
oh,
Yeah, I could feel it.
wow. So what happened as you felt that energy coming?
Well, my body, I could just feel my body just became electrified, and each time that I would do that, and and especially if I was present in who I was. And that taught me presence. If I wasn't present, I wouldn't feel that energy flow. And in essence, it was okay, you're here with the horse, and your hand is on the heart,
Yeah.
their heart. Now get grounded and be totally present. And it was amazing. That transformation of, and the more present I became in who I was and who I am, that energy flowed, but not but. And then the other energies that were still there in me also moved on because there was no more room for them within me.
Absolutely. They were allowed to be released because you felt that healing presence and the energy of that beautiful
Yes,
present moment and the true sense of who you were,
yes,
in conjunction
yes,
with that being mirrored to you through the horse.
yes, absolutely. And, there was also another, um, well, this was a time where with the horses, but there was a group of us doing meditation. So we're sitting on chairs in the horse healing ring,
Uh-huh.
doing this meditation, eyes closed, and all of a sudden, I would, and just a sidebar, I have, the images in my mind because I certainly didn't see it, but I have the horse's tail hit me in my face, not once, but a number of times. And the message was, you're not present. You're not present. Get present. And again, so in meditation, and okay, reground yourself, Carol. And it was interesting when I did that, then the horse moved on. And I can only imagine. So was a horse standing in front of me, swishing its tail, or was it behind me? I don't know.
You don't know. Well, that's interesting, Carol, because when I was up in Central Florida in horse country, Ocala. It's where people from up north bring their horses for the winter many times down to Florida. And I was doing a book signing for my book, Horses to Higher Consciousness. And the next day, there was a horse healing, Reiki healing session in a corral. And the woman that owned the bookstore where I did the book signing owned a horse, and his name's Leroy. And she was going to the Reiki healing as well. So there were about maybe, I don't know, maybe about 10 or 12 of us. And when it was your turn, you would go into the corral with the horses. First, they had us come in and bond with a horse, and we would just, whatever horse we gravitated to, and they would give us a brush, and we would brush the horse and bond with the horse. Then, as one by one, we went into the corral, and there was a Reiki table, a massage table. There was a Reiki practitioner and a shaman woman, and she telepathically knew what the horses were saying. And so when I was on the table, all I didn't know, because like you said, my eyes were closed, and she said, Carolyn, there's horses all around you. And I kind of glanced to my left. There was a horse on the whole horse guiding my right side was Mama, which was the horse I bonded with. Then there was a horse on the left, one at my feet and one at my head. And I too didn't see, but I felt on my cheek. A horse was blowing air on my cheek. And then the shaman woman was telling me what the horse was saying. And she was saying, what's wrong with your leg? And it was on that side where the bad leg was. I burst into tears because I had just had an injection on my way up there for the book signing in that leg, in the hip of that leg. So it said other things too. The horse said other things too that were all completely relevant and were true. So I understand exactly what you're saying here, the power of this.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful to know that our animal brothers and sisters are all part of the healing journey as well. And then having these experiences and us sharing them, other people can experience it as well. So let's move on to how you used all that healing and transformation with your clients to help them excel. And how did it segue into your training then for naked leadership?
Well, with clients, in essence, all my life experiences and bringing that into the space with clients is as a now a radical listener, because it's not about me, it's about them.
Love that term, radical listener.
Yes. And really, I mean, it's paying attention to, yes, what they're saying, but more is what they're not saying. What's going on with their body? What's their face saying? What are their eyes saying? And just really, really tuning into to them and beginning that journey with them in say a coaching session as we begin to, you know, look at the story. What's the story they are currently in? Because everyone lives in a story. Whether you think you do or you think you don't, you do. And in that story, then beginning to ask questions. That is my role as a coach, as a guide, as I walk along with a client. And in that process, I have developed a four-step process, and I refer to that as STAR. And the first one, S, is stop. So just let's stop And it may mean that, we have to actually ground and breathe, you know, because breath is the gift of life. And if somebody isn't grounded in who they are, then that also creates all sorts of tentacles going everywhere. So we stop and spend some time there. Then is move on to tea, which is getting to the juicy part, because then you begin to tune in, not out, but into what's going on inside, you know, what's going on in your heart. And often clients have never stopped to really connect with their heart. And I am a firm believer that we live from our hearts and our heads will follow. And
Absolutely.
so often we spend so much time in our heads that we're not paying attention to the body, which really gives us life.
Absolutely. And there's more
And
nerve endings in your heart than there even are in your head,
yeah,
right?
that's right. That's right. And, checking in is what's happening inside and bringing that to the forefront
Uh-huh.
and spending time on looking at that. And it may be that we create a timeline, just as I have a timeline in my life. Every one of, the audience here has a timeline. We all do. And we look at that. And then A is we author a new story.
Oh, beautiful.
And that is the beginning of the journey of, so you author a new story, then you begin to walk that journey. I recommend walking before you even jog or run. And then the R is you receive that story into you to give you that, in essence, courage to move forward. And that process may take 6 months, may take 3, or it may take 9. It just depends on who you are. But when you receive it, is that process, a process of really putting your hands over your heart and receiving it. Now that is, it sounds like a short process, but in essence, that is a very fulfilling journey. And, we may bring different experiential exercises into that process as we're moving forward. But that is that is that in essence framework that I use. And what is so special about that framework is that the 4 initials, STAR, are the first initials of each one of my children.
Oh,
And that
really?
that is a download from intuition.
Yes. Wow.
Yes. Yes.
That is so beautiful. That gives it
Yes.
so much more depth and meaning, right? And
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And when I share that story, Carolyn said when that first came to me of, a star, and I looked at it and went, oh my, that's my children's first initials. And then the mischievous part of me said, well, there's another word that I can make from STAR, and that's rats.
oh,
No, that doesn't work so well. We will stick with star. And I allowed that to evolve. And it just, yes, it's just such a beautiful gift that I can share with clients.
I think it's so beautiful. And also, star is then they're the star of their own life, right?
Yes,
And they're the spark of divinity. They're the spark of the universe. They are a star, and they even
Yes.
say that we're created from stardust, right?
Well, they are the star, yes, they are the creator, and they're also the director of their life.
Yes.
Yes,
And
yes,
I love what you said about stop and sometimes right in the moment, right then and there, because that goes back to your horses about the present, being present and
yes,
really and starting right there and then to retrain people to get in touch with being back in the present moment, which is not an easy task. We
yeah,
always are either thinking about the future or regretting something in the past. And to stay in the present is a very powerful place to be.
absolutely. It is the most powerful place to be because the past is past, and constantly reliving it really keeps pulling us in the past, and it also keeps draining our energy.
Correct.
And yes, the future is in front of us, and we may have a dream of the future self or the higher self. In order to get there, be present. Be present and move. Tomorrow, you're present tomorrow. The next day after, you're present that day. Keep moving forward.
Oh, that's one of my favorite phrases. Just keep moving forward. It's so
Yes,
beautiful. And yes, so we straddle. We can learn from the past and say, yes, this happened. But once we've done the inner work, then there's no emotional charge, as you said, you
yes,
experienced. Yeah, so
yes.
we look at it as the lesson, right? But then in the present tense is where it all happens. And even the future, we can have a plan and a goal, right? The goal is there, but we have to stay in the present to
Yes,
execute it. So really it's the it's the sweet spot, I guess we'd call
yes.
it, right?
And I love how you said is to give up the charge, that emotional charge. And that really is that step forward, because when you can say enough, I don't need that charge anymore. I will lead my life. Thank you for everything that you have given me, all the lessons, all the experiences. Thank you.
Yes.
Now I lead.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that because I'm leading my own life, right?
Yes,
Which is naked leadership. Now, sometimes we know, as you described, and I always describe in my work, many times we do have to go in and process. We have to honor the inner child, the inner wounding, and we
yes,
have to address the shadow work. We have to address the wounding, and we sometimes we have to process through that. That's very valid. But once we do that work, then we're able to say, yes, that happened and I learned from it, but that emotional charge has been taken care of. And then we can move forward into whatever we're creating with, like your word, naked, which naked courage, right? It's the naked meaning
hmm
authentic, right?
yes. Naked is authentic. And just in what you have said brought forward this picture of relationships. And for your audience is the question is, who is the person that you will have the most intimate relationship in your life?
That's right.
It's not a partner, it is you.
That's right.
Yeah, that is the deepest relationship that anyone has the opportunity to have, and you step forward into that. And that brought up a picture for me. In relationships, we generally say 1 plus 1 is equal to we. You step back into that intimate relationship with self, it's 1 plus a little one, and there's usually little ones of all the little things going on inside of you. But that one plus the little one equals to me. And that relationship within me is the one that I constantly build so that I step forward into this relationship in a strong, being a stronger, more loving, more compassionate, affectionate me, because I've brought that all with me as, self-acceptance, self-love, radical self-responsibility, all of it.
Absolutely. Well, the inner child, right? Healing the inner
Yes,
child. That's what I say to my clients, especially relationship clients. We can't take two broken, wounded people and try to put them together and make a whole. We have to be two whole people coming together to share that wholeness. And that sounds to me like exactly what you're describing. When
yes,
we do that inner work with the little me, little inner child that's been wounded, and we do the healing work and then pair that little child. I literally do this in age regression work where we work on the inner child a lot. And many times I have my clients get a doll reminiscent of their inner child and learn
yeah,
how to bond with that inner child. So what the way you describe it is so beautiful of that the little one, right? The little one, which is the little one within, who
yeah,
bonding with the adult you,
yeah,
and then therefore that whole person can move forward. So
yeah.
it sounds to me, Carol, that then what you're describing with your work is the naked leadership. It's either for someone becoming whole just themselves so that they can lead their life authentically, but also then that through that they can lead others like what you're doing. Is that correct?
That's correct. Because, and I know you already know this, Carolyn, is when you lead yourself, then you step forward and you lead others. And the first person you lead is yourself. Because if you have an opening within yourself that you aren't leading, somebody else is going to step in to lead you. And that, of course, creates that dysfunctional energy, or that is a wounded energy. So in essence, yes, you lead yourself, then you step into whatever role you take on as a mother, as a CEO, as a business owner, as an executive, as a whatever role you wish to step into in society. You will meet that role absolutely wonderfully as
That's
you
right.
lead yourself.
That's right, because you've taken care of number one, you've put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and then
Yes,
you can help others.
yes.
Wow, that is really, really beautiful. And oh my gosh, I can't believe it. We've already been talking for over an hour. Do you believe it?
Really?
You absolutely have. So, and time flies when you're having fun, is all I can say, because everything you've shared is so wonderful, so beautiful, so enlightening. And so now, I'd like you to share with us where people can find you if someone wants to work with you to either lead themselves. And I love that what you said, because we start with ourselves, and then wherever your path is going to go from there, um, you can take it from there. If people have already done a lot of inner work, they can work with you for leadership on a greater scale. If they haven't done the inner work, they can start there so that they can get their own inner leadership and then take it, which, as you described, wherever their life takes them. So I have a couple things on here where people can get a hold of you. So, uh, well, we have your website, which is carolmetzmurray.com, correct?
Correct?
And we also have your Facebook link, so they can find you on Facebook. And it's, Carol Metz Murray. Why don't you spell that for people? Exactly how?
CarolMetz and Z for the state, Murray.
That's correct. I have the same thing. I just wanted to come right from you. And what else do I have here? Well, you're the Naked Leadership Movement co-creative trusted advisor. And so, and on Facebook, then they can just find you, and also on LinkedIn, Carol.
Yes, also on LinkedIn. They can find me on LinkedIn as well. Yes, absolutely. So reach out. I'm excited to have a conversation.
Yeah, so everyone, you can just go to carolmetzmurray.com if you want to go right to her website and see everything there. Well, Carol, this has just been amazing and wonderful. And your journey was so inspiring. I mean, when it started, I have to admit, I wanted to just start crying because I was so emotionally wowed by, what you've been through and what you have achieved and how you have surmounted all of that and raised four beautiful children on top of it is really a testament to your courage and your strength and your resiliency. So you're the perfect person to coach anyone else in how to achieve the same thing. And we've all come from those places, those wounded places. So everyone, thank you so much for being here today and for listening to the conversation. And we both hope, Carol and I both hope that you were inspired and you were encouraged if you're going through something yourself right now, that there is definitely help from your own intuition and from beautiful trusted guides like Carol who can help navigate that terrain and help you through it. So thanks again, everyone, for being here. Thank you so much, Carol. And I look forward to keeping in touch and seeing where your journey continues. I'll be watching myself to see what you're doing next because I think you're beautiful and inspiring and you've got a lot of wisdom to share. So thank you for being here and thank you everyone. And we will see you again soon on another Intuition Incubator interview. Bye, everyone.
Bye, and thank you.
You're so welcome. Bye, Carol.
Bye.